This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Austin Grabish. Janet Stewart is away. Liberal MP and former Cabinet Minister Jim Carr has died. And the news of Carr's death was announced earlier today in Ottawa and spread quickly across the country. Carr has represented Winnipeg South Centre since 2015. The CBC's Alana Cole shows us how he's being remembered.
I love this country. Every square meter of this country.
Liberal MP Jim Carr just days ago in Ottawa. There he saw his private member's bill on building a green economy pass in the House of Commons. He also spoke about his health.
How you feeling?
Well, I mean, physically not great, but emotionally really, really solid. And grateful for the chance to continue to contribute to my country.
Today came news Carr had died.
He was only in here last week passing his bill, so it just shows how quickly things can change in our lives.
A statement from his family said Carr, a husband, father, and grandfather, died at home, surrounded by loved ones. He had been battling multiple myeloma and kidney failure since 2019. Carr had represented Winnipeg South Centre since 2015. His family says as a dedicated elected official, business and community leader in Manitoba for over 30 years, Jim was loved and respected by so many, and we know he will be profoundly missed. That feeling expressed by many.
I saw Jim last week in the House. He was so proud of pushing his PMB over the line and was excellent on the floor. I was so proud of him that he was able to get that done. We're going to miss him so much. It's a sad day for Canada.
My sympathies go out to Jim Carr's family and loved ones. He was wonderful to work with. He was a class act and certainly always encouraging my work, even though sometimes we disagreed politically. I had such admiration for him.
I've known Jim since he was an MLA in Manitoba and president of Manitoba Business Council. Somebody that, despite our partisan differences, I've always considered a friend. He's a great champion for Manitoba, and I know that his family is very heartbroken right now.
The Prime Minister not ready for this moment.
His legacy will be one of service, one of thoughtful leadership, one of deep and abiding passion for this country and for its people, along with a real commitment to thoughtful solutions that bring people together. He will be forever missed.
Mr. Carr.
Carr was 71. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A man is dead after a stabbing at the Millennium Library yesterday. And CBC's Cameron McLean shows us the incident has once again sparked concerns about security at the city's largest library.
That's sad.
Jacob and Anna Onneson come to the Millennium Library almost every day. But when they arrived Monday afternoon, they found the front doors locked.
You see stuff around the area that kind of, it's not a good area to begin with, but I never thought it would get to that point where there's going to be a stabbing in the library.
Police have arrested 3 youths in connection with the stabbing. No other details have been released. Does it make you worried at all?
Yeah, it makes me concerned to be at the library now, even to bring our kids here to even get books and stuff. It's a little bit
very
unnerving.
Concerning.
It comes 3 years after the library brought in airport-style security in response to incidents of violence and safety concerns of staff. That received immediate backlash from community members, and the library scrapped the metal detectors and bag checks in 2020. The group Millennium for All formed in opposition to the enhanced security measures. They posted a response to the stabbing on Twitter early Monday morning. We wish to extend our sincerest condolences to those impacted. Winnipeg communities are experiencing layers of crisis. Libraries and library workers cannot be expected to fill the void where our social safety nets used to be. We remain committed to evidence-based strategies for safety that are rooted in inclusion, anti-racism, and harm reduction, and we encourage Council to fund them. One inner-city advocate says it's too soon to draw conclusions about security from the incident, but solutions need to address the root causes of violence.
Housing, mental health, creating safe spaces for everyone. The library needs to be a safe space for workers, but it also needs to be accessible for everyone.
City officials say their efforts are focused on supporting staff who witnessed the stabbing on Sunday. Meanwhile, the doors of the library are expected to remain closed for at least one more day. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And Mayor Scott Gillingham released a statement in response to the stabbing. He says the city needs to make safety improvements before reopening the library. The administration is consulting with the library's community working group to review options. The RCMP have made another arrest following an out-of-control party in East St. Paul in October. Mounties arrested a 15-year-old boy from Winnipeg last Thursday. It's not clear what his role in the party was, but the RCMP previously said they were swarmed by about 70 intoxicated youth. Some jumped on their police vehicle, and racial slurs were made to diverse officers. Some were spit on and had fireworks launched at them. Police also say they stopped a sexual assault that was about to happen. The 15-year-old boy is one of several youths the RCMP has since charged. He's scheduled to appear in court next March. During the 2019 Christmas break, nearly $500,000 disappeared from the RM of Westlake Gladstone. The mystery of the missing money swirled around the community for years. Now here's CBC I-Team reporter Caroline Bargout with what really happened.
In the municipality of Westlake Gladstone, population 3,300, a major theft has torn this community apart. 3 years ago, nearly $500,000 disappeared from the RM's bank account. People started pointing fingers at each other because no one could understand how something like that could happen.
I do recall hearing a conversation in the community.
Back in 2019, Kate Halashewski was the town's assistant CAO. She remembers working during the holidays that year. Unbeknownst to her and everyone else, cyber attackers were secretly siphoning hundreds of thousands of dollars from the RM's bank account.
And then as the day went on, and digging through the paperwork, and it's like withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal, and it was all through the period of this Christmas holiday period. So it was really alarming.
RCMP say the RM fell victim to a highly organized scam. Cyber attackers sent a phishing email to the town office in early December. At least one person clicked on the link, which allowed the criminals to access all the RM's computers, including their bank account. RCMP say the cyber attackers created a fake company and a website, then posted a job ad online for cash processors. 18 people were hired, mostly newcomers and students from the Maritimes, Ontario, Manitoba, and BC. They were all duped into moving the stolen money. The cyber attackers sent 48 money transfers of just under $10,000 to each of the participants' credit cards, and then instructed them to deposit the money into their own bank accounts. They were then told to withdraw the cash, minus a couple $100 which they were allowed to keep, and go to specific Bitcoin ATM machines and buy cryptocurrency. Sergeant Guy Paul Larocque is an RCMP cybercrimes expert in Ottawa.
Money moves very fast, so money transiting from one account to another can after that move from different accounts right away or disappear from the financial network if there's withdrawals or transferring to a different type of banking system.
The RM had cybercrime insurance, which they thought would cover their losses, but it didn't. Imran Ahmad is a Montreal lawyer who specializes in cybersecurity.
They cover it. If you've got a crime policy which is detailed enough that covers this type of scenario we're talking about, they typically do pay out. They don't challenge it. But you have to make sure that the verbiage of the policy is very clear and aligned with what the actual incident was here.
The town's account is with Stride Credit Union, which also wouldn't cover the theft. The RM is now suing its insurance company and the credit union.
In a statement of defense, Stride Credit Union says it told the municipality a forensic audit was needed of the RM's IT system to determine how the account was accessed and to find out whether there were security concerns that had to be addressed.
Halashewski says the municipality didn't want to pay for a forensic audit because it already lost nearly $500,000 from its $7 million annual budget, but says they did work extensively with their IT experts to try and figure out what went wrong. RCMP say, unfortunately, the cyber criminals are nowhere to be found. And unless new information comes forward, this case is closed. As for the RM's lawsuits, they're still before the courts. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Westlake Gladstone.
Sadness and outrage continues tonight for families whose loved ones are missing and murdered. Some say they'll keep fighting until Winnipeg area landfills are searched for human remains.
We're here to send a message because people think that we're all talk and no bite and that we're not going to do anything, but it's time that the world realizes that Indigenous people have voices and we're absolutely going to put up this fight and we're not going to stop. Exactly. We're going to war.
Cambria Harris was part of a group that blocked access yesterday to part of the Brady landfill. Truck after truck was forced to turn around and drive away with trash still in tow. Harris's mother, Morgan, is believed to be one of the victims of an alleged serial killer. Police believe her remains are at another landfill outside the city. Harris thinks there are more victims in garbage dumps and wants them found.
And I know people aren't going to like it, but we saw the same thing start with residential schools, and we're still digging up unmarked graves here. And what they're doing essentially now is creating another unmarked graves of Indigenous peoples. And that's wrong.
A handful of protesters were also at the Prairie Green landfill. Harris says to expect more protests and blockades at both sites. A judge has sentenced the killer of Eduardo Balaquit. Balaquit went missing in 2018 and his body has never been found. Tonight, the CBC's Ian Fraze explains what happened at sentencing.
More than 4 years after his dad went missing, Edward Balaquit was there at the sentencing of his father's killer.
It was still difficult. I mean, it's like they said, whatever time is given, it's never going to be enough.
The judge settled on 16 years in prison for Kyle Pitts, who was found guilty of manslaughter in connection with the presumed death of Eduardo Balaquit, a Winnipegger who went missing in 2018. His body has never been found. Eduardo's son, Edward, says the sentencing brings the family some closure.
It's relief that we don't have to explain or hear the same story over and over, relive everything over and over, but at the same time, we are still living through the pain.
On June 4th, 2018, Eduardo Balaquit was working his job as a night cleaner, but was never seen or heard from again. A massive search effort involving police and the community focused on the Arborg area, but it came up empty. Pitts became a suspect. His vehicle was seen driving by the building Balaquit worked inside at the time of his disappearance. The Crown successfully argued that Pitts fell on hard times financially. He robbed Balaquit, took money out of his account, and discarded his body. Balaquit's family is frustrated Pitts has refused to say where the remains are, especially since Pitts' family speaks so highly of him.
If he wants to prove that he's actually a good guy, then I hope he does. And I encourage him to prove that he's the man that everyone says he is.
The 16-year sentence for Pitts is close to the 18 years the Crown wanted. The defense asked for 8 to 10 years in prison. Edward says his father wanted everyone to know they were loved.
That's what hurts because this was the reward he got.
Pitts could appeal the sentence. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Northwest Company is one of Canada's oldest retailers. They have a large presence on reserves, but as the chief of Norway House Cree Nation says, they also have a monopoly on the local economy. The CBC's Stephanie Cram brings us more on that story.
One particular town struck me as the most surprise, and they had 3-4 blocks of businesses, independent businesses.
That town was Carmen, Manitoba. Chief Larson Anderson from Norway House Cree Nation says there is one thing preventing his community of over 6,500 people from having a similar, thriving local economy.
We have a monopolized corporation that's taken over.
The Northern Store, a fixture in most First Nations. First brought into Norway House Cree Nation in the mid-90s, it is the anchor store of the community's mall. But according to Chief Anderson, it is preventing the local economy from developing.
Because they sell every product imaginable, from socks to Skittles to boats to insurance, it's basically killed any possible economic activity.
In 2013, the Northwest Company signed a lease with Norway House for 20 years. Included in that was a new convenience store with a gas bar, even though there were 2 local stores nearby. One of the competing stores was Anderson's Fuel and Confectionery. Owner John Anderson says his business took a hit when the new gas bar opened up.
As soon as the C-store got in, I probably lost more than half the business.
After a fire at Anderson's gas bar, the store was shuttered, in part because he couldn't compete.
And it's pretty hard to try and compete against a multi-million-dollar business.
Originally a fur trading company, the Northwest Company entered the retail market in the late 19th century. By the end of the Second World War, the Northwest Company had become the leading retailer in remote communities, including reserves. Without small businesses being able to compete, Norway House is now getting behind a new community-owned store.
That would be where our own store would be situated.
Like the Northern, Chief Anderson hopes the new store will be a one-stop shop.
So our store plan is not just to sell groceries. Our store plan is to sell every product, and I would probably equate it more to a Walmart.
In a statement to CBC, the Northwest Company says agreements are partnerships with First Nations, and that we believe that local competition is healthy for both customers and the community economy at large. Chief Anderson hopes the new store will help the community get back to how things used to be.
So if you can grow an economy like we used to and before the settlers came in, then we can succeed.
Chief Anderson says the profits from the new store will go back to Norway House, including paying for new, much-needed homes for the growing community. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Norway House, Cree Nation.
So there's an end to this mild weather, John?
Yeah, there is. We have some snow on the way. That new shovel that you're hoping for Christmas, well, I hope you get it, but maybe a little early. You're going to probably need it. We have a special weather statement that's been issued late this afternoon. Let's get to that. It covers all of southern Manitoba, most of southern Saskatchewan as well, and right up into the Parklands region. Areas like Dauphin and Swan River and Riding Mountain, all within the special weather statement. So this is something I was talking about in my journal that I posted earlier today on cbc.ca/Manitoba. You can read about it there. This Colorado low is really going to be situated to the south of us, but here in southern Manitoba, we will be on the northern edge of the system, and it's a sort of a long-lived system. It's not a quick 18-hour boom, it's gone out to the east. This one's going to sort of arrive in batches of snow and freezing drizzle over the next few days. But by the weekend, 10 to 20 centimeters certainly possible. And I think because the low is to the south of us, we'll be in an easterly wind, and the higher terrain in western Manitoba may see amounts upwards of 30. As that air slides up that higher terrain, it enhances snowfall amounts in this kind of system. So lots of cloud around tonight, but you widen out the view and you look to the south of us, the thicker cloud is in North Dakota, South Dakota, and you can just see in the mountains where that low is forming and will move into the upper Midwest as we head into the next couple of days. So right now we're at -1. That seems to be a popular temperature over the last 48 hours. Even at night, it seems to really not move much. South winds, not all that strong. Relative humidity at 86%. And the wind chill really not anywhere near the frostbite range. But still, -1 is mild for this time of year. Normal high is -10. All right, let's have a look at Futurecast. The pink that you see here on the map is that chance of freezing drizzle for tonight. So flurries or freezing drizzle in the overnight period could be a dicey drive in the morning hours as this transitions into more of a snowfall in the morning hours. And a lot of that is west of the Red River Valley. Widen out the view. You can see that by Tuesday supper time, by this time tomorrow, a lot of the heavier snow is to the south of us. That tries to make its move up into southern Manitoba on Wednesday. More of it on Thursday. There's a look at Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then we'll see another batch of this moving into the region on Thursday morning. So Like I say, not all at once, but we will start to see some snow tomorrow. By this time tomorrow, some accumulating snow west of the Red River Valley, 4 centimeters around Dauphin, possibly 9 around Morton. Not much in Winnipeg, but then you get into Tuesday night and on into Wednesday, and we start to see that accumulating snow really picking up. And a bullseye of 14 for Dauphin, 24 in the Morton area. So tonight, -3. Watch the flurries. Freezing drizzle possible. Could be dicey in the morning on highways. Here in the city, I think it'll just be wet streets or slushy, and then -1 in the afternoon. East winds at 20 to 30. And then in the long range, we see our snow in batches Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and even a little bit more as we head on into the weekend.
The weather update is brought to you by Home Equip, your trusted local source for Pride Mobility scooters. From sales to rental and repair, our team is here to serve you.
Coming up, the healthcare debate is heating up in Ottawa. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is calling for an emergency debate to address the crisis at children's hospitals. More on that after the break. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is calling for an emergency debate to address the crisis at children's hospitals. Across the country, they are dealing with an influx of sick kids. Singh says there could be grave consequences for the Trudeau government if it doesn't take action to address the problem soon. JP Tasker explains.
We're tired.
This Ottawa nurse says Ontario's healthcare system is on the brink of collapse.
It's beyond critical. I've said before we're at the bottom of the barrel, but we're not. We're beyond that. We're below the bottom of the barrel. We've scraped the barrel and we've broken through.
The main issue, worker burnout. Muir says that's caused healthcare workers to leave the field in droves.
I have friends, colleagues, members of my hospital who cry before they come to work, cry when they leave work, because the workloads are so high.
The staffing shortage has compromised care in some places. The situation is so acute at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario that the Red Cross has been called in to help. A hospital built to serve 120 children a day is seeing more than that every hour. Canada is in the throes of a so-called triple-demic, with COVID-19, flu, and other respiratory viruses in widespread circulation.
What we're seeing right now is the huge number of viral infections and a huge amount of patients coming to emergency rooms and also being admitted to the hospital.
The premiers say they're seized with the issue, but they maintain the blame lies elsewhere.
We need to make sure we sit down with the federal government and put together a sustainable deal that we see continuous funding moving forward for decades to come.
Justin Trudeau has a responsibility to sit down with premiers and find a solution. First and foremost, that is the number one thing we're calling for.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is calling on the Prime Minister to urgently spend more money, cash to hire doctors and nurses, and keep the ones we already have. Singh said if Trudeau doesn't come through, he's prepared to walk away from the Supply and Confidence Agreement, the deal that was supposed to keep the Liberals in power until 2025.
If we don't see action on healthcare, we absolutely reserve the right to withdraw our support. This is very serious.
Well, cool to the idea of meeting the premiers now, the Prime Minister has said he's prepared to increase the Canada Health transfer. What's left to be determined is how big it will be and if there will be any strings attached. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Iran has hanged another person associated with the ongoing protests against the regime. This time it's a man convicted of stabbing two members of a group that is cracking down on demonstrations. CBC's Abby Kuathausen reports.
On Monday morning, Majid Rezhauranavard's family received a phone call informing them he had been executed and buried. He was only arrested 23 days ago for allegedly killing two members of the security forces. The 23-year-old was convicted and sentenced to death, but these tribunals are held behind closed doors. The defendants can't choose their own lawyer and often aren't made aware of the evidence against them. Last week, Mohsen Shekari was the first known person linked to pro-democracy demonstrations to be hanged.
I had a long conversation with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Iran, talk about this execution. I expressed the concern of the European Union, the condemnation, and the sanctions that are going to be taken today.
Amnesty International says at least a dozen people have now been sentenced to death. Iranian human rights advocates believe more than 18,000 people have been detained since the popular uprisings began nearly 3 months ago. Azadeh Pourzand is a human rights researcher and says the regime will look to target some protesters.
Most of the executions that we're going to see are going to be from the more marginalized groups, from the minority groups, the less affluent groups, and the less well-known individuals who are behind bars. We're worried about thousands of people that we don't know enough about.
She says even for the Islamic Republic, which has executed its own citizens for years, the two hangings in the last few days are a new low. Iran is one of the world leaders in state-sanctioned killings, and there is grave concern about what the regime will do as it faces the most serious challenge to its rule since the 1979 revolution. Abby Kuathausen, CBC News, London.
A bleak picture today from Statistics Canada about people's finances. The latest quarterly report shows Canadian households saw a rise in the amount of debt they owed relative to their income. Scott Peterson reports.
The
This new report from Stats Canada this morning really shows that people's paychecks are not keeping up with their debt levels, not keeping up with rising prices, and also that we're seeing a decline in our national net worth. For example, our national net worth fell in the last quarter 3.3%, $17.2 trillion, and quarter over quarter. That's the fastest drop going back all the way to the financial crisis in 2008. Also, the prices that Canadians get for natural resources, whether it's minerals or oil, down 13%. That hurts the bottom line of many Canadians. But it's the housing price is really responsible for our national net worth declining. The total value of residential real estate in a quarter fell 3.4% to $8.4 trillion. And clearly, higher mortgage costs are scaring away a lot of buyers from this real estate market. Hence, we're seeing the prices to the downside for the last year. And another important metric here is household debt levels. Our income versus our debt load is at 183%. In plain English, what that means is for every dollar of disposable income, we have $1.83 now in debt, and that's up over the last couple of quarters. In fact, it's flirting with highs that we have not seen since 2018 when it was at $1.84. But clearly, this report out this morning shows that Canadians are struggling making ends meet from month to month, and as a result are loading up on their debt levels. And it doesn't help that we're seeing a decline in our national net worth in regards to our real estate prices as well. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
Some parents of children sick with COVID, influenza, and RSV are calling for changes tonight to sick leave to help them cope. Yasmin Granham has more from Vancouver.
I just felt like I was at breaking point.
Sarah Ryan is a mom of 2 in Kamloops. She has used 18 sick days this year to care for her kids and doesn't have any left.
I think it was October when my kids were sick. I was ready to just quit everything, quit my job.
She says both her kids have fallen ill with COVID, the flu, and RSV.
My daycare has still a 0 symptom policy because it's a home daycare. So if the daycare owner gets sick, then she has to close the daycare.
With no sick leave left, she worries about what to do if her kids get sick again.
Do we reintroduce masks again? Can we make our kids wear a mask again? They hate masks.
This pediatrician says in the current climate, any flu symptom is enough for a child to stay home.
Even when they've got a new runny nose and sore throat where we know something might be in the mail. Because we're seeing that doctors' offices, emergency departments, hospitals are all full of children.
But keeping kids home isn't always easy for some. Labor experts say women are more likely to stay home to care for kids than men, and some who do not work in jobs that permit working remotely face extra challenges.
In particular, women in the service sector and in frontline services. And so that may well require taking unpaid leave in order to care for children.
The BC Federation of Labor is calling on the province to offer more paid sick days amid a surge in respiratory illnesses.
Folks shouldn't have to choose between going to work and feeding their families or paying their bills, right? And that is, currently the situation. 5 days doesn't go very far if you get a COVID diagnosis.
The province currently offers 5 paid sick days to eligible employees. The BC Federation of Labor is hoping to up that to 15. But parents like Ryan say that's not nearly enough.
I've used 18, right? So 5 is like a drop in the bucket.
This parent just hanging on and hoping her kids manage to dodge more illness. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
Police in central England continue to search the icy waters of a lake where a terrible incident occurred yesterday.
It is incredibly sad that we do not have any better news for you today.
3 boys, ages 8, 10, and 11, died after falling into the ice-covered lake. Crews pulled them from the water, but they could not be revived. A 4th boy remains in critical condition. Searchers are checking to see if there are any other victims, but no one else has been reported missing. Scientists at the University of Alberta have teamed up with kids to show off some new life-changing gadgets. They help children with motor impairment do things like turn on and off switches, all with the help of their mind. This brain-computer interface technology allows them to be more independent. Our colleagues at CBC Edmonton prepared this special report.
Claire has cerebral palsy. It affects her entire body. So she needs help with pretty much everything. The biggest thing I can say to anyone is not to underestimate these kids. She hears everything. She understands everything. And when we give them a way that they can show what they know and what they can do, it is just, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like the possibilities are endless.
Today we demonstrated the Think to Switch project, which was our first step over the past year at trying to commercialize a connection device that brings brain-computer interface out of the computer into the real world. It's really helpful because already individuals who are used to access technology and using these might have toys or games or at-home objects and items that they would like to use, and they traditionally use a switch, but this enables a brain-computer interface to act as a switch to then be able to turn on these objects at their home or for play in a variety of different settings.
It's brought a new aspect to play. Claire is a huge part of play in our family. She has her own role, but now it's an active role, it's an active independent role. And that's what makes the difference, is that before it was me helping her paint or me helping her push something on, and now it's her thinking what she wants to happen and it actually going. So like we saw with musical chairs today, Claire was the DJ. So she turned on the music herself and the boys danced, and that's what it is. And watching them be able to interact, you know, Brody yelling at Claire to turn off the music because he's getting tired or do this, it's something that we haven't been able to do before because she wasn't doing things on her own. So the kids are interacting in a much more typical way, and it just brings a lot more laughter in our house.
Still ahead, John Sauder is in next with his look at the Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Welcome back. If you're thinking of buying gift cards for family or friends this holiday season, be careful. You may be in for an unpleasant surprise. CBC's Philip de Montague has more on some scams you should know about this holiday season.
These 2 Walmart gift cards totaled $700 when Kevin Wilson received them as part of a Black Friday promotion. Now they're just about empty.
You can see there's 27 cents.
One had been spent in Richmond, BC, a nearby Vancouver suburb, the other in Mississauga, Ontario.
I was in shock. I mean, the cards hadn't left my, possession.
Wilson tried to figure out what happened and discovered this security flaw.
You can go up to the self-checkout and simply scan the barcode off nothing more than a picture of the back of the card.
We put it to the test. First, we snapped a picture of a gift card, then loaded it up with $5. At checkout, we scanned our purchase and the picture of the gift card barcode. Et voila, transaction complete. What's more is the printed receipt gives you the remaining balance on the gift card. Walmart tells CBC News it's now looking into this.
Being an ex-police officer, I've sure dealt with my, many scammers.
Nichelle Loss recently discovered another kind of scam, where a thin barcode sticker is applied on a different retailer's gift card.
When you lift it, you can definitely see that it's different. And had the transaction gone through, I would have loaded $100 on a fake LCBO card that the person at home is going, yeah, and they're gonna go spend that. And meanwhile, I've bought essentially an empty PlayStation $100 card.
And boom, you got your barcode.
This cybersecurity expert says this type of scam is easy to do and hard to track. He says retailers need to be more vigilant.
Maybe keep the gift cards behind the counter. Inspect the gift cards on a daily basis when you're making your rounds to ensure that there was no tampering.
Between January and September, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre has received more than 1,000 complaints related to gift cards and prepaid credit cards, totaling close to $3 million in losses. A number experts say is underreported and likely to spike this holiday season. Philippe de Montigny, CBC News, Toronto.
Some scary-looking critters were spotted roaming the streets of Munich on the weekend. Furry beasts that appear before every Christmas and make the Grinch look like a teddy bear.
Just seeing the different variations on Krampus is so fun, and the different size bells and the anticipation of hearing them before you see them. It's incredible.
The Krampus is a figure from local folklore who scares children who have been naughty, while Santa Claus rewards those who have been nice with treats. Many of the creatures return this holiday season after staying away for 2 years. They spent much of the pandemic isolating like so much of us.
I'm going to have nightmares.
I might too. So a possibility of a freezing drizzle.
Yeah, freezing drizzle. You know, temperatures, Austin, tonight will be down around -3, and that'll be into the morning as well. So highways, I think they could be a little slick in the morning. Leave yourself extra time. I want to show you some storm impacts, and I'm calling it a storm. It is a Colorado low that will be situated to the south of us. With us just on the north end, batches of snow that will add up by the time we get to the weekend. 10 to 20 centimeters would be a general amount, and I think here in Winnipeg, that would be by about Friday noon, and we could see those higher amounts west of the Red River Valley. Highway travel, temperatures over the next couple of days near the freezing mark, producing slick conditions, especially in those late night, early morning hours. And then as we look at the system finally moving away, second half of the weekend, early next week, temperatures really plunge over the weekend. Daytime highs by this time next week will be struggling to get past about -20, and it looks like that kind of weather will last right on into the Christmas season. Right now, though, it is mild, -1 downtown and at the airport. Also in Steinbach, Selkirk, a little bit cooler just to the west at -2, and then farther to the west, -2s and -3s. Back in Kenora, -2 at the moment. In northern Manitoba, mild as well. This is a big upper ridge that is well into northern Manitoba, although the temperatures through the day tomorrow in Churchill will fall, and they will fall a lot. Just cloudy tonight in northwestern Ontario. Temps right around -3 to -4. Southeastern Manitoba, we're looking at -3s for lows in through Gimli, Winnipeg, Emerson, Steinbach, out to the east. Pretty much all reporting locations. And then we've got that slight chance of flurries or freezing drizzle overnight. Same with Portage, Morden, and Winkler. Freezing drizzle and fog around Dauphin, and a chance of flurries and freezing drizzle in Brandon. Just a chance of flurries, though, in Swan River at -9. Across the north, we've got some evening light snow in the west, and then that'll just turn into a cloudy sky overnight. Thompson looking at a couple of centimeters of snow, and we'll see periods of light snow in Churchill as well, and a chance of flurries in Island Lake. And then tomorrow we'll see afternoon clearing in Churchill, temperature at -6. Really what's going to happen here is it'll start at -6 and fall to -15 on into the afternoon. Otherwise, still fairly mild through Thompson, Gillam, Island Lake. Lots of cloud across the north tomorrow, though, and we'll see some clearing through Lynn Lake at -12. In the southwest, we'll see some accumulating snow around Brandon, Dauphin. Showed you the amounts earlier, 4 to 5 centimeters tomorrow, Dauphin and Brandon. Portage, Morden, and Winkler, you're looking at just some light flurries possible tomorrow. Here in Winnipeg, just cloudy skies for the most part, and temperatures right around 0 to -1 across southeastern Manitoba and the Red River Valley. Then in northwestern Ontario, it's just a cloudy sky and temperatures anywhere from 0 to -1. 7-day forecast will show you how cold it will be next week. I'll have that shortly.
Thanks, John. Still ahead, who says you can't be a kid again, even as a grown adult? Coming up, we'll hear from a group of friends who did precisely that to bring joy to each other's lives. More after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Well, who says you can't be a kid again, even as a grown adult? RC cars are miniature model vehicles that can be controlled from a distance using wireless remotes. And the Bushcraft RC Club always meets on Sunday, even in the dead of winter. CBC's Jim Agapito caught up with them.
Ran into each other out here and coming here weekly ever since.
It evolves a new aspect of winter. I like to snowshoe, walk, ride my fat bike, etc. But this is just something different where it allows different people with different interests to come together because it involves, again, the hiking, the RC car, and the cooking on an open stove. So that's a lot of common fun things.
I was into it when I was younger, early teens. I got back into it 6, maybe 7 years ago. I've just been going ever since. The collection's just been growing and branching out and getting bigger and bigger.
My truck is a 2021 Bronco. It's four-wheel drive, full locking differentials on it, 2-speed transmission, and I've upgraded to a brushless motor in there for some more power and also better low-speed operations.
It's considered a G63 AMG Mercedes, and it's a 4-wheel drive with a 2-speed transmission, and it's got options to lock all the differentials, so it's quite capable in the scale that it really is.
Kind of like in real life rock crawling or like, you know, serious extreme off-road stuff, and you just kind of do it in a scale version, and you, just try and go as slow up stuff and see what you can really do.
I do enjoy the crawling. I do find it more relaxing. There's a lot less wreckage after you're done, I personally find. Maybe that just means I'm not doing it right. But at the same time, you get that adrenaline rush with a faster vehicle. So, go and hit a gravel pile and do a backflip and land it. It's, all right, yes.
And winter's fun because a lot of people don't talk about RC in the snow. They find reasons to be indoors during the winter. So we're finding reasons to kind of prove a product that has capability to have fun outside in winter that no one's really utilizing.
It's always a pretty big goal if you get up to the train tracks. In doing that, there's also with mine, it tends to roll a lot. I've got a lift kit on it, so it's a little higher, and so lots of the fun with mine is actually the extreme rolls when I almost get to the top and then it just loses it. So that's another aspect that I think is also fun. So the rolling down and just, seeing how much abuse they can take. It's mind-blowing.
I think it really just takes me back to being a kid, and just, like I said, lets you get rid of some of that stress from your week or from your work day and just go out and enjoy yourself.
We're out here Sundays, and we're always looking for other people who are interested in enjoying RC cars or just coming down and seeing what it's about, because it does offer fun for any ages, whether you're 5 or 95.
Your 7-day forecast and your daily lift are still to come next. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Well, one last look here at the end of the show for this, or at this special weather statement, pretty much covering all of southern Manitoba, parts of the Interlake, and up into the Parklands region, where we could see pockets of 30 centimeters by the weekend. Here in the Red River Valley, general amounts of 10 to 20. And it doesn't arrive all at once. It's sort of a long-term event over Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Really gets going on Tuesday night. Look how much colder it is next week. The high on Monday next week, just minus 18 and possibly some more snow. Ukrainian children in Winnipeg got to meet Santa on Saturday, or to be more precise, it was Saint Mikolai, and he gives gifts to children who tell them about their good deeds.
We had a camera there while kids had their photos taken with Saint Mikolai at the Ozar Odak Ukrainian Cultural and Education Center. Here is your daily lift.
Hello, we're from Ukraine. My name is Ala, and this is my husband.
My name is Dima.
This is daughter Yaroslava. Two Christmas for our daughter.
Today we have 170 kids coming to celebrate St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas is equivalent of Santa Claus in Ukraine, and normally as here and in Ukraine, all the kids are waiting to see St. Nicholas and receive their gifts. They have a chance to go to the table and to choose a gift, to select anything they like from the table for their friend or a relative or someone that is dear for them. We understand that this is their first Christmas in Canada since the war escalation in February 2022. More than 14,000 of Ukrainians came to Manitoba, and so many kids here. We know how much they are waiting for their Christmas, and we wanted to make their holiday exciting for them.
It's wonderful. This is Christmas wonderful. Awesome.
Wow.
A few smiles.
Yeah, community coming together in Winnipeg. It's really awesome.
A great thing to do right before Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care. Have
Bye.
a great night.